My daughter, she's doing just fine. Just fine. This is a normal thing. This is a normal thing. Like, see that video I just posted prior to this? This is normal. And I know it's not normal for everybody, but it's normal for me and another mom in the comment section that says she's been in and out the hospital with her child for like last 2 years because of the black magic. This is normal for her as well. This is a normal thing. Like, you have to understand something. People that don't experience this, it's not going to be normal to them. And because I have never came online and told you guys, my child's in the hospital again, guys, my child's in like, this is the first time I'm actually openly talking about it. And the reason being is because this was very this frustrated me, because every time I have to go to the hospital, there's no diagnosis. And it's not anything that lingers where like my child is hurt all day. No, what happens, how it starts is she'll have a very bad nightmare, and then I'll have to pray over her, and then she'll have a headache, and then she'll have nausea. The same symptoms that we feel when we go through spiritual warfare, the same symptoms that we feel when we're fighting off the afflictions of black magic, that's the same symptoms that she feels. The difference is that it doesn't affect her the way it affects us, but it's still heavy for a child to experience. Any child would have a hard time experiencing that or coping with that. Do you get what I'm saying? And then when you go to the doctor and you get brain scans done, chest x-rays done, MRIs and all these things, and they say, wait, she's fine. Everything is okay. Again, like I tell you this all the time, whenever there's some sort of spiritual warfare or black magic going on, you're not going to find diagnosis for anything physically, because it's all spiritual. So even though I know it's spiritual, if she was at home and she was like having a headache or something, I know how to handle it when she goes through it in that moment. I know how to handle it. I know how to pray it away. I know how to anoint her head to where if something happens, it's gone. Literally, it's gone like 20, 30 minutes later. But when I'm not around her and she's at school and I'm on the road, then of course you have to understand that strangers that are not familiar with these things, you can't just go to the school and say, oh, it's black men. You can't tell anybody that. They're gonna look at you like you're crazy, right? So you have to understand that their first, steps are gonna be, oh my gosh, let's call the emergency. That's gonna be their first steps. That's gonna be their first move, and rightfully so, they should, right? So this is a normal thing, right? But I just want to say, like, for some people that I saw, like, just be careful who you mock. Be very careful who you mock. Because just because somebody is going through an affliction or feeling the symptoms, the attempts of something, does not mean they're cursed. Okay? A curse without cause does not stand. We feel symptoms. We're sensitive in the spirit. We are spiritual individuals. We are gifted individuals. We know when somebody is messing with us. We will feel a headache or we'll feel a nausea or something like that. That happens. When you have kids who are anointed, they can feel it too. It affects them too. That does not mean they're cursed. That does not mean that God is not protecting them. That does not mean that God doesn't exist. So I want to make that very clear, because somebody was in the comment section literally mocking my situation and then had the nerve to say, I don't mean to mock you. Yes, you did. And you're blocked. For you to be like, where is your God? Where is God? That's mockery. Okay. And first and foremost, okay, another thing I'm going to say is people are like, oh, didn't God warn you? Didn't God tell you about this person? Yeah, he did. He did. He brought this person in my life to help me to a certain extent. To a certain extent. I was disobedient. I chose to keep the services going. I chose to keep paying for services that he never gave me. After God said, no, cut ties, it's done. Don't pay no more. When God said, cut ties, it's done, don't pay no more, I had already been like, oh man, I already paid a little bit of the legal fee. I might as well pay the rest. I should have stopped, but I didn't stop. And I repented for that. I repented and I publicly apologized for that, because that was disobedience on my end, right? But then again, after God said that, the first warning, I never got any more warnings from him pertaining to cutting ties. The only warnings I got after that whereas the do not pay any more money. But what happened was, because the person made it seem like there was court cases going on, he made it seem like the services I was going to pay for pertaining to more investigating were going to help the court cases that were not even in existence. So that made me feel like, wow, I need to investigate more, because court is around the corner and we need to have solid evidence. So I need to investigate more. I need to do this more. That's what made me think that I had to investigate more, even though I was told not to. And I've already said I made a mistake on that part. But for you to sit there and act like children of God, prophets, anointed are not human beings is crazy. Is crazy, because yes, a lot of us make mistakes. A lot of us, there's times where we are disobedient. How many times did God warn you about that friend and you saw red flags, but you're trying so hard not to believe that that person could be like that because you wanted to believe the best about that person? So you ignored the red flags and then you got stabbed in your back. How many of you guys been through that? A lot of people have been through that. Many people who would sit there and mock my situation, they're in marriages that God did not even ordain for them to be in. Many people that will sit there and mock my situation are on their backs fornicating. So for you to sit there and make it seem like I'm not a human being because I made a mistake, and then trying to question where God is in my life, is crazy. Because believe me, he is right here and he has already instructed me on what I need to do. I'm just being transparent when it comes to this, because that's the kind of person I am. I'm not the kind of person that's going to sit there and say something publicly and tell you guys, oh, there's a documentary, this is what's going on, and then all this happened and then not say nothing to you guys. That's very deceitful. No, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I've always kept it real on this channel. I've never lied about anything on this channel other than what I was told, and I repeated it and I repented for that. I've always been authentic. Many of you guys that are sitting there like, oh, where's your God? Where's your God? How come God never warned you? How come God never this, that? You got, a lot of you guys are following people who go through the same things I'm going through, but they're not sharing it with you guys. So you would never know that they made mistakes, or that they were disobedient, or that they did something they were not supposed to do. You would never know that. Also, I want to also biblically correct you, okay? Because God never showed David what Saul was doing until after, because that was a part of the plan. God used Saul to help David to a certain extent, and then Saul betrayed David, and it was a part of the plan. Just like God used that person for a certain extent to help me, and then he betrayed me. But the betrayal more so came from my disobedience. But he did help to a certain extent. What he did in the beginning of the investigation, he helped me receive what I've already known was to be true, that black magic was being done on me and my children. He helped me receive some of the evidence that I needed to confirm this, and that I will give to him, because he is a good investigator, but he turned into a snake along the way, and that's where he messed up. But God does use people to a certain extent in our life, and then he will tell us, okay, there's an expiration date. So yes, God did warn me, and yes, God is still very much here, very much involved. Okay, so be careful who you mock.